Learning AI is one of the most valuable things that you can do nowadays. I studied AI at university and I'm working at one of the leading AI labs. And so much progress has been made in the last 5 years that the way to most efficiently and effectively learn AI has probably completely changed. And so in this video, I love to break down some principles if what you're looking to do is learn AI this year, or even potentially get a career in it. One thing that happens is that learning AI is very different to learning to code. And that's because coding is much more of the practical side. You can learn how to code and create programs and applications without actually knowing the theoretical side of computer science, which is the fundamentals of how computers work to even make that code possible. So you can create quite an abstraction between the practical side and the theory side. When it comes to AI, I strongly think that they're quite interlinked. And that's because the AI space has so much specific concepts and terminology that in trying to, if someone asks you in a job or in an interview to implement something using AI, it's gonna be hard without having somewhat of a theoretical grasp of the concepts. And that's why in this AI roadmap, I've specifically focused on being able to give you both the theoretical pieces as well as the practical ones. This is going to be the equivalent of learning to ride your bike. It's also simultaneously learning about how gears work, about aerodynamics, so you understand how the bike works as well as are able to ride it. And when it comes to AI, it's a huge space. So I'd like to break it down because the AI that we know nowadays is just the tip of an iceberg of something that's so much bigger. And so when you look at AI, fundamentally, everything breaks down into mathematics. So you have the biggest umbrella space, because AI itself is an umbrella term, but the biggest umbrella which AI is within is mathematics. So if you wanted to create any AI model, technically, someone with a big enough brain, enough hands, and enough pieces of paper could write out all of the math to create one of these leading AI models and be able to train it just purely using math. Now within mathematics, you'll hear this concept called data science. So this is another umbrella within mathematics. And it simply means the application of math towards data specific domains. That means a lot of statistics, a lot of modeling, and you'll probably hear of a career path called data scientist, which encompasses all of these wide range of skills and use cases of using math instead of data science. It's a subset of math. It's a subset of data science. AI simply refers to algorithms that can understand and know. And it's a very vast amount of models, but it breaks down into two concepts within that, which is machine learning. Machine learning is the study of algorithms that can learn. What does that mean? It means, take for example, you have two types of cars. One of them that uses machine learning models, let's say it's like a Tesla, and a typical normal car. A typical normal car might have normal code inside it. It means you jump into the car every day, and day by day, 10 years pass, the car hasn't changed, it behaves exactly the same way it did on day one. With a Tesla, let's say, and it uses machine learning models, every day if you're capturing data and giving it data and training it, it actually improves the car day by day through experience. And so this is what machine learning models are. Typical algorithms don't improve with more experience. Machine learning models are algorithms that improve the more information and the more experience that they have technically. And lastly is when we get to those AI models that you typically think of what is normal AI, which is called deep learning. These are AI models that somewhat mimic the structure of the brain. They can take in lots of information and do very complex modeling of it in order to give you some of these really leading use cases of things like chatbots, image generation, speech synthesis. This is where in the last 5 years, a lot of things have blown up is within deep learning and generative AI, but it's still a big subset of this wider field of mathematics, data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. So hopefully that's given you a bit of a hierarchy. Now is when we're ready to, now that we've clarified those concepts, is when we can jump into the principles and the roadmap. When it comes to the roadmap, you want to start pairing theory with practice. And that's why in this higher level roadmap, The first stage is just drinking from the fire hose. This means just watch. Typically, on any coding and learning to code video, I would highly suggest to just jump in the pool. But when it comes to AI, there's so many new concepts that you really want to just watch and learn and drink from the fire hose for a while until you understand what these mean. And for this, I'd highly suggest to start watching videos from Andrew Ng, which is a professor of deep learning at Stanford and the co-founder of Coursera, actually, as well as 2 Blue 1 Brown, which is one of the leading YouTube channels. So they both have very good introductory courses into AI and data science, where they break down these really complex topics into much more simpler steps. And you want to start watching this often. What I did was, anytime that I had some extra time on my commute, maybe during breakfast, having it alone, or even sometimes in the gym, I would watch these videos and try to watch them 2 or 3 times in repeat. And that's because some of the concepts are gonna be new and unfamiliar, and the only way to really understand it initially is to memorize. So you're gonna wanna watch them 2 to 3 times and really understand and grasp the concepts behind them. So that's what you wanna do in terms of step 1. You wanna just watch, and you want to start pairing it a little bit with some practical aspects as well. One concept throughout all of the channel, which you'll see me almost be a broken record here, is to try to make learning a habit. You want to schedule 30 minutes a day, preferably first thing in the morning, where you dedicate to just getting better at your domain and at your skills. So schedule 30 minutes a day here to just watching these videos and improving and understanding these concepts. And once you've gotten mature enough, you want to start doing more of the application side, where there's some really good fundamental courses from Code Academy and HackerRank on artificial intelligence. And you want to pair that practical side with the theoretical side of watching these videos and concepts. Cool. Now you've reached level 2. You've finished the fundamentals, you've watched and understood some of the concepts, as well as done some of the initial and introductory courses. Next is when you get into the intermediate and what I'd call more applied level. For the applied level, before you even get here, there's 2 camps of people when it comes to learning AI. Those that say that you can learn AI with a no-code way and not knowing how to code, and those saying that you have to learn some code. I'm strongly in the camp of people that say that you have to learn some code, specifically Python. I think that fundamentally, if you've decided to embark on this journey and you see AI as something that you think is worth learning, and you want to make sure that you don't stunt your growth, learning the languages that AI models are coded in and what they pretty much speak is gonna be super helpful towards your learnings, but also isn't gonna stunt your growth path as you go understanding these new concepts and are even able to build and work with these models. So I'd strongly suggest, I have a separate video as well on how I'd learn to code if I'd start again, but learning Python if you can. Code Academy and HackerRank have some great courses on the fundamentals, and I think this is going to be really important if you really want to get to that next stage. So once you've gotten to level 2, it's the intermediate and applied stage. One really useful tool, once you've done the fundamentals and you have some grasp of Python, is Google Colab. Google have created this tool, which is the equivalent of Google Docs, their online word editor where you can type in your essays. They've created an equivalent of Google Doc, but for code, where you can write Python code and run it directly on the browser. The reason this is so impactful, and even professionals in industry use Google Colab widely, is because you can, one of the most painful things as a machine learning engineer, as a data scientist, is setting up your environment. You might have a tutorial that you want to follow, but you might encounter so many bugs that it might take you 30 minutes to an hour to even start to get any code running. So what's amazing about Google Colab is it has a lot of data science packages pre-installed, and you can get up and running so quickly and even use something called GPUs, which are some of this leading hardware that AI models can run on. So I'd highly suggest using Google Colab once you've reached the intermediate stage. And what you want to start doing, which is what I did to learn and study for AI interviews as well as software engineering interviews, is create a Google Colab, which is about applying AI models. you want to continue to do this 30-minute cadence a day where you've built this into a habit. And for 30 minutes a day, you're going to start to fill out this Google Colab with different examples of applying AI models. Now, in this intermediate stage, you won't know how to build them from scratch, and that's totally fine. That's what you should do. Instead, you want to do two things. You want to go to the websites of some of these leading AI companies. They'll have something called an API. An API is a URL that you can call using something called an API key. So if you go to their website and sign in and create an account, you'll get an API key, which is a password. So you'll use their URL and that password to access their models. So some of these leading AI providers, almost all of them have APIs and API keys that they offer, and they allow you to have access to their models. So within this Google Colab, what you want to do is go to one of their websites, and on your 30-minute cadence a day, start going to a tutorial in their guides and documentation and actually calling their AI models to understand how they work. You'll start going through concepts like temperature, you'll start interacting with different parameters and how they work. And so this is going to give you a really good applied aspect of how these generative AI models work. The other thing that you want to do is, once you've completed all of those, you want to start playing around with more traditional machine learning models, which is a package called scikit-learn. When you're doing a job in production and you're actually working with AI models, almost 90% of the things people do is not making them from scratch and coding them. It's actually pulling off-the-shelf models and using them in the right ways. And for this, most people just use APIs from the leading AI providers, or they use models from scikit-learn, which are more traditional machine learning models. Cool. Now, once you finish this intermediate stage is when you want to advance to the more advanced stages. This is less about grabbing off-the-shelf models and more about a much more customized approach to model creation. And for this, I highly recommend, this is what I did in university, highly recommend this website called Machine Learning Mastery. Create a new Google Colab document and start in your 30-minute a day cadence to do some of their tutorials on your Google Colab document. Through this, you'll be able to learn some of the more advanced aspects of creating machine learning models, and it's going to really help you gain autonomy with both the concept and the applied side when it comes to AI. So I'd highly suggest using Machine Learning Mastery, and you're gonna start to work with tools like PyTorch and TensorFlow, as well as Keras, which is another package for some of these machine learning models. And if you want to get more advanced, I'd also suggest using Hugging Face. Hugging Face is a website which hosts some of these leading AI models, but they're open source, meaning you can fully download them on your computer and start playing and using them. So you can do things like quantization, like fine tuning. You can play around with different sizes of models. I'd highly suggest for this advanced stage, look at Machine Learning Mastery and Hugging Face. Cool. Now, if you've got to the really ultimate part of the roadmap, this is the pro level. Going to advanced already is going to be very beneficial and already help you career-wise, as well as make you into one of the most knowledgeable people within the space about AI, because you know the fundamentals, the application, and actually some of the more advanced topics. Ultimate is really understanding the pure mathematics behind it. So ultimate level is for those that are looking for deeper research positions, for example, or applied positions. And most people within the AI space don't even know this. But as I said, most of AI boils down to mathematics. And so this is where it's going to get really interesting. For the more ultimate side is when you want to start programming some of these AI models from scratch. And that's very hard, and there's not that many tutorials. But what I'd highly suggest is, if you get to this level, watch the videos from Andrej Karpathy. Andrej Karpathy is one of the leading influencers in the AI space. He's the co-founder of OpenAI. He was one of the leading AI directors at Tesla. He's made some of the highest value content on YouTube that I think has ever been published. He has some videos that show you from scratch, with no off-the-shelf models at all, how you can build generative AI models from scratch, as well as the GPT-2 model, one of the models that actually kicked off this whole entire AI space. So I'd highly suggest looking at Andrej Karpathy's videos, and if you can, following along some of his tutorials. Cool. Hopefully you've enjoyed that video. That was an AI roadmap on a higher level, going from beginner, intermediate, advanced, and ultimate. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And if you're liking these videos, one thing, I'm not going to be like some of the other YouTubers that asked you to do this. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe. What I'd really appreciate is I'm trying to make videos within AI, technology, and career advice, and I want to make sure that these videos are valuable to you. I'm thinking about creating videos within the application part and actual tutorials of how to learn Python and AI concepts, but I really want to make sure that this is valuable to you. It'd super make my day if you can drop a one-line comment saying what kind of videos you'd like to see next. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully this added value to you, and have a great rest of the day.